Okay, get ready for this. What if the next huge leap in AI infrastructure wasn't some massive server farm on Earth, but a constellation of satellites orbiting way above our heads? And what if, and this is the key part, it was owned and operated by Indigenous peoples? I know, it sounds a little like science fiction, right? But stick with me, because this isn't just a wild idea. It's a very real, very credible vision for our near future. So here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll look at why this is even possible right now. Then we'll get into the grand vision itself. After that, we'll cover the revolutionary rules it's going to operate under, the massive economic impact it could have, and finally, the actual roadmap to make it all a reality. All right, first up, why is an idea this audacious even on the table? Well, a concept like this doesn't just appear out of thin air. It's actually the result of some really unique and powerful forces all coming together at exactly the right time. And this quote from Jason Carter, it just nails it. It really captures the weight of this opportunity. This isn't just about a new piece of tech. It's about a moment where Indigenous peoples can go from being subjects of technology to becoming its architects. It's a huge shift. So that pivotal moment he's talking about, it's not just one thing. It's actually three massive trends crashing into each other. First, the tech for data centers in space, it's not a theory anymore. It's real. Second, Indigenous innovators are already stepping up and leading in the AI space. And third, the legal right for Indigenous peoples to control their own data is finally being recognized around the world. Let's just double-click on that first point, because it is a game changer. This isn't some far-off dream. It already happened. In November 2025, a company called StarCloud literally put a high-performance NVIDIA H100 chip, the same kind of powerhouse GPU used for serious AI work right here on Earth, into orbit. The takeaway is simple. It works. High-performance computing in space is a reality. The question is no longer if, it's who's going to lead the way. Okay, so that covers the why now. Let's dig into the what. What is the actual vision for this AI constellation? What does it look like? And you can see right away, this project is about so much more than just satellites and silicon. It's really a vehicle for economic independence, for taking back control of one's own data, for creating high-tech jobs, for helping preserve culture, and yeah, for establishing Indigenous peoples as global leaders in a brand new, critical industry. So how do you even begin to build something this ambitious? Well, you don't just launch 100 satellites at once. The plan is really smart. It's phased. Phase 1 is just about demonstrating the concept, with only a handful of satellites. Then, Phase 2 scales things up with next-gen tech. And by Phase 3, you've got a full-blown enterprise-grade constellation with 100 or more satellites. It's a smart, scalable, and de-risked approach. Okay, this next part, this is arguably the most revolutionary piece of the entire puzzle. It's not just about the fancy hardware orbiting the planet. It's about the rules that will govern it. And this is where we see a really fundamental shift in how we think about data. And this slide just lays out the contrast so clearly. For decades, the model has been what people are now calling data colonialism. Data being taken, extracted from communities without their control and without them seeing any benefit. The new model, Indigenous data sovereignty, flips that whole script. It's a move from extraction to ownership, from losing control to having self-determination. And what exactly is Indigenous data sovereignty? Well, this is the core of it. It's the fundamental right of Indigenous peoples to govern their own information. It's all about making sure that data about their communities, their lands, and their cultures is managed by them, for them. Simple as that. So, how do you actually put that principle into practice? Well, in Canada, there's a well-established framework called the OCAP principles. It's an acronym. O for ownership, C for control, A for access, and P for possession. Now, these aren't just suggestions. They're the non-negotiable ground rules that make sure data governance stays firmly in the hands of the communities themselves. And here's the crucial point. This isn't just a nice ethical idea. It's actually backed by law. Both the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples and Canadian federal law recognize data sovereignty as a fundamental right that's tied directly to self-government. This gives the whole project a rock-solid legal foundation to build on. So we've got the tech, and we've got the legal framework. Now let's switch gears and talk about the real-world outcomes. What kind of impact could this project actually have? Well, for starters, it could create an entirely new economy. And let's just start with a headline number, shall we? At full scale, this constellation is projected to generate $2 to $5 billion or even more in revenue every single year,
We're not just talking about creating a service here, we're talking about building an incredibly powerful economic engine.
But where does all that money go? This chart shows it all, and it's a model built completely for community benefit. Look at that biggest slice. A full 50% of the net income goes directly back to the participating Indigenous communities as dividends. The rest is smartly reinvested into sustainable growth, developing the workforce, and R&D.
Now, to make that real, let's put it in concrete terms. Even in the early growth phase, this could mean an annual dividend of over $8 million for each participating nation. Think about that. That is a truly transformative amount of funding for community priorities like healthcare, education, or language revitalization.
Okay, this all sounds incredible, but how does it actually get done? This final section lays out the practical, step-by-step plan that takes this ambitious vision and makes it feel concrete and, most importantly, achievable.
This timeline maps out the entire next decade. It starts next year, in 2026, by forming a consortium and getting that initial funding locked in. By 2028, the first demo satellites are in orbit. By 2030, the operation is profitable and starting to scale. And by 2035, the full vision is realized, a global leader in space-based AI owned by and generating billions for Indigenous communities. It's ambitious, for sure, but it is a clear path forward. So the most important thing to take away from all this is simple. This isn't some far-off fantasy. It's a real opportunity right here, right now, and it's built on 3 incredibly solid pillars: technology that already works, a proven track record of Indigenous leadership in AI, and the established legal right to data sovereignty. Which really just leaves us with this final thought. The digital future, the AI future, it's being built as we speak. This project poses a really powerful question. Are we going to keep building it with the same old architects, or is it time for new leadership to take the helm?